Hi, I'm Ralph. Welcome to my kitchen. Today I am doing something a little bit unusual. I am making a recipe, but I'm not making my recipe. I am making a recipe that one of my longtime viewers, probably one of my most loyal viewers, has sent me one of his favorite recipes for a chocolate cake. Now I also have to tell you right up front, I do a lot of cooking. I enjoy cooking. I've never really done much baking. So I'm not as experienced at this as I am at cooking. I'm going to give this a whirl though, and we're going to see how this cake turns out. Now, I have to preface this just a little bit. I've never met Paul. Paul lives basically on the other side of the world from me. The recipe was in directions that here in the United States, we normally don't read. I kind of had to translate them into, what I would understand here. So if this might not turn out, it's probably because of an error in my translation. But hopefully I did okay on that. So Paul, I hope I do this justice for you. And we're going to share this with the world, buddy. So let's see what we can do. I've got my mixer out here. I'm going to start by putting in the dry ingredients. And I'm going to have all the proportions down below. So I'm going to start out with all-purpose flour. I've got sugar. Now, this is fine granulated sugar. There's a difference between this and regular granulated sugar. It is not confectioner's sugar. It is not powdered sugar. It's something between a powdered sugar and a regular granulated sugar. It's extra finely ground. One advantage to this, besides baking with it, is that if you're like the people here in Texas and other parts of the South, and you like your sweet tea, but somebody made that tea unsweet, adding regular sugar to cold unsweet tea just does not dissolve properly like putting it in there when the tea was still hot. This will dissolve in that cold unsweet tea a whole lot better than regular granulated sugar. So there's a whole nother purpose to this for those of us who live here in the South. I'm going to add that sugar to the mixture. Get rid of some of this stuff. I've got cocoa powder, baking cocoa. I've got a combination of baking powder and baking soda. I've got 2 eggs, 2 large eggs. I've got some vanilla. Now this called for a different type of oil, but I tend to use a lot of avocado oil in my recipes. It's a good neutral oil, so that's what I'm using here is avocado oil. I'm adding some heavy whipping cream. Now we're going to be using some more whipping cream and some broken up baking chocolate. I got the Ghirardelli type here, and that's going to be coming along in a little while here for the frosting. Now, while I'm mixing this up, let me get that turned on. I've already got the oven preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Now I'll put the conversion for that down below in the directions. We're going to be blending this up until it's smooth. Now slow that down. I'm going to be adding water as close to boiling as I can get it and still handle it, a little bit at a time. Okay. Now, the batter's looking kind of thin to me, but that's the way it's supposed to look. Now, I have already buttered up 2, in this case, 9-inch cake pans. Now, the recipe actually called for 8-inch cake pans, but I'm assuming that's just going to mean my layers are going to be a little bit thinner. Here is the hardest part of this recipe. There is parchment paper in the bottom of this. Hardest part is tracing around and getting a 9-inch parchment paper and then cutting that out so it would fit into the bottom. You're still buttering the bottom of the pan and then sticking that parchment paper to the butter. Now let's see if I can get this out without making a total mess. Now, like I say, this is thin, and it's supposed to be thin and glossy. So I'm going to be pouring about half into each one. Now these are going to be going into the oven for about 25 to 35 minutes. You'll know they're done when you take a toothpick and you put it into the center, and when you pull it out, it comes out clean. So I'm going to be putting those in right now, and a little bit before they're done, we'll come back and we'll start the frosting recipe. Okay, I'm back. The cake layers have had a chance to cool. I've made up the frosting. I think I've got a failure on my hands here. Paul, I'm sorry. I must have screwed something up. I'm going to give this another try in another video, but I'm going to go ahead and produce this video just to show people sometimes things don't always go the way you expect them to. Look at this. It's kind of thin. Now, I knew that it was calling for 8-inch pans, and I had 9-inch pans, so that's going to be part of the factor. I didn't know where our regular cake pans were. My wife normally does the baking, and I couldn't find them, so I went to the store and I bought a couple of these spring pans because that's what they had, and they only had them in 9-inch varieties. That batter was like really thin. Now, the instructions say it's going to be a thin batter. Well, it leaked right through the bottom. It was all over the counter. I was cleaning it up. I put it in the oven hoping that, in the baking process, it would kind of stop the leak and take care of things. It kept leaking for a while. It's all over the bottom of my oven. Now, the cakes themselves did not burn, but the part on the bottom did. So I've just finished opening up the windows of the house and airing the house out and had the fan on full blast. So I finally got the house where it's kind of habitable again. The frosting, the texture would probably work, but the taste, I've never tasted frosting quite like this. There must be something I'm missing in the directions, because I'm just going to take a little fingerful here. There is like zero sweetness to this, like at all. That cream did not help. So it's calling for dark chocolate, apparently probably semi-sweet or something. It just did not specify. So I just used blocks of dark chocolate. It definitely needs some kind of little sweetening in there. I would not want to be frosting my cake with this. Now, while this looks thin, I'm going to go ahead and taste it to see what it's like. It looks nice. It's just real thin. It's got good taste. It's super moist. But I think if I do it as a sheet cake, in a deeper dish that does not have seams on the bottom, I think we'll come out with a winner. And if I figure out what I did wrong with the frosting, we might have something really good here. So, Paul, forgive me. I'm going to give it another shot. I just wanted to show the people out there that sometimes, even on YouTube, things don't go right. And they certainly didn't go right this time. So bear with me. If you like what the channel is doing, give me a like down below. Leave me comments. I hope I get lots of comments on this and tell me where I may have screwed up. But, other than that, I guess I will catch y'all next week. I can't even give it to Gunner because it's chocolate and dogs can't eat chocolate. Catch you later. Bye-bye.